I honestly don't know how they're gonna get a story framed in the newspaper. Because the A section only has 230 inches.
This is important. It needs to go.
It is important, but that doesn't mean they're not giving the room for it.
It's just silly though. It's like I can't imagine the other topics that.
They may say, we'll put you out front, but you gotta get 20 inches.
Really? And then put everything else online?
I guess. I don't know.
Well, it's too young.
Every day is an adventure around my place.
Imagine.
We're still trying to get things adjusted, but I gotta tell you, I was happy with yesterday's announcement.
Oh, you guys? Yeah. I was a little chagrined though to see that she didn't leave her other responsibilities open for another MPP. It's basically just piling things on that she has to do.
Yeah, but if she's willing, I'd rather have somebody local than somebody from out of town that doesn't know us.
But I'm thinking about those natural progression of maturity of journalists into that position.
It may happen over time. It could be after 2 years of doing this, she'll say, you know what, I've had enough. Let's put somebody else in the role. We'll see. It's not gonna be me. I guarantee you that.
I learned with the way that Troy Trumpy and situation happened, years ago, it's like, I don't want this. I can still remember, because I was confused. I came in and trying to explain how the department works. Trish that we know what we're doing back then. Says, well, you know, I'm not really an admin sort of guy. I'm more of a big ideas guy.
Yeah.
And Joe went with it. It's like, man, we're done. Hey, Mark. Curious, why not his wife or anyone else? And maybe they use that as leverage.
That's a good question for
Yeah.
Attorney General Hunter. Because they kind of held out that possibility when they filed the initial charges.
I did.
You're shooting it and live streaming it.
Yeah, so I don't have to worry about it.
Mark wants to get
Yeah, you need another camera? Another rig for something?
Does it go to your phone or?
My phone is up here.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. You're live live stream it using your phone and capture
Right,
it for
right.
later on your big camera.
Tyler, was anybody else coming?
Over the Capitol?
Uh-huh.
Not that I know of.
Cause Murphy called over.
Did he?
Allegedly Murphy.
Stitch just gave her a press conference.
What'd he say?
I wasn't in there. I think he just commented on the.
Budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
How's it going? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Today, through a plea agreement, which was approved in Canadian County District Court this morning, Richard and Ryan Tate have finally accepted responsibility for conning thousands of individuals through their fraudulent business practices while operating Tate Publishing and Tate Music Group. This is an important day for victims from around the world who have waited as this case has worked its way through the state's legal system. As part of the plea, the Tates have been charged with 38 felonies, 6 misdemeanors, and will spend up to the next 20 years on probation. This plea agreement involves and contemplates and is going to require the Tates to provide restitution for more than $820,000 to their victims. Before I get into the details of the agreement, I want to take just a minute or two to commend the great team that we have here in CPU, this Consumer Protection Unit. They've worked tirelessly on this case. They have a workload that is significant, but the monumental task that they undertook to investigate, prosecute, and return as many files as we've been able to up to this point is certainly something that I want to note and give them a lot of credit for today. Bringing this case to today's successful conclusion is nothing short of an heroic lift on their part. Thank you all again for your hard work on this. For those of you covering this case for the first time, our office received more than 2,200 complaints from around the world. Complaints from customers range from failure to deliver products and services that had been previously paid for, to failure to pay royalty earnings per contract, and also refusal to return files unless customers agreed to a $50 processing fee. Through the course of our investigation, agents discovered that money derived from the sale of publishing books or music was deposited into business checking accounts and then transferred to Ryan or Richard Tate's personal checking accounts. That investigation led to our filing of charges in May of 2017. I think you've been provided with the details of the plea agreement, so I won't discuss all of them or all of the counts, but I want to share with you some of the most significant terms. After this morning's filing, the Tates made an initial $109,000 payment to the victim restitution account, which we have set up here in the AG's office. Beginning in February, the defendants will make a $3,000 monthly restitution payment to that account. The $820,000 figure that I've mentioned this afternoon could increase as we are continuing to receive and vet credible claims. Victims have until July 1st of next year to file complaints together with supporting documentation with our Consumer Protection Unit. The defendants are required to make additional lump sum payments each month if their combined income exceeds $8,333. The defendants have also agreed, per the plea agreement, that any and all contractual agreements between the authors and the artists have been terminated. The defendants have also agreed to immediately release all computers and computer servers that are in their possession to our office. We will continue to closely monitor the Tates throughout the course of their sentence to ensure that every dollar is accounted for and that they're complying with the terms of the plea agreement. If the Tates violate any of the terms listed within the agreement, they risk probation revocation and resulting prison time. Our top priority through this process has been the victims and doing our best to make them whole. As you know, we recently were able to return some of the files that we were able to recover from the Tates. Our office has now, as I've said, established a restitution fund for the victims where we will secure and distribute the money, and we're currently working on finalizing a system to repay the victims. I want the victims to know that this office is committed to doing all we can to guarantee that they're repaid. Our team has worked tirelessly on their behalf, and I can assure you that they will continue to do so. So while we establish and finalize the process to return the victims' money, we ask for and appreciate their patience and hope that they know that we're working every day with their best interests in mind. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and several members of our team here that can go into more detail if we need to. Yes, sir.
Hello, General Hunter. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. Ready for Christmas.
Yeah, I hear that. When you were talking about the minimum payment of $3,000 a month, is that on the part of both men a joint amount, or is that $3,000 each?
That's a joint payment, and again, the goal here is, and the commitment, the plea agreement is, that at the end of the 20 years they will have provided restitution up to and perhaps in excess of $820,000 to the victims.
So if they make at least their minimum payments that long, that's how much you estimate that they would be able to? Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. What would you say to a victim out there that's not happy that they're not doing any prison time? Is it more important from your perspective that victims get that reimbursement than it is over whether or not these guys spend any time behind bars? So we endeavored to both address the strong concern and strong interest on the part of victims to receive restitution. They used their creativity and their artistry to create intellectual property, which was mishandled, misused, converted in many cases by the Tates, and they deserve to be paid for that. At the same time, the Tates need to take responsibility with respect to having committed a crime. They pleaded guilty today. They are convicted felons. This is not a deferred sentence. It's a suspended sentence. So they're going to spend the rest of their lives as convicted felons. So we think, I think our team did a great job on both counts, holding them responsible for the crimes they've committed, but also creating a regime where they're going to be able to hopefully get as much in restitution back to these victims as is reasonably possible. Okay, one final question, and then I'll let others have their turns. Sure. Is this the largest consumer fraud-related case that your office has ever investigated? It's large. I wouldn't say it's the largest, but it's definitely up there in the top 10. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your questions. Yeah.
Were there other executives or co-owners of this venture that you considered filing charges against as well?
Yeah. John, we didn't identify any other individuals within the Tate organization. John Suttle's here, the lead prosecutor in the case.
Well, we looked at all the statements.
Yeah, come on up. Folks, this is John Suttle. He's been the lead prosecutor in the Tate case.
from our
Thank you.
office.
Thank you, General. We had looked at all of the statements from the employees as well as the victims that were involved with this case to try to determine who might be culpable with regard to the actions of the company and of the Tates. The two wives of the principals had some involvement with the operations of the company, but they were not listed as owners or stockholders of the company. And quite frankly, it wasn't clear that we could make a case that they were involved in any of the decisions regarding how the company was operated.
Mr. Settle, could I ask this question? Is there any indication where that money went?
The money that
Once
was,
it got into the private bank accounts?
well, there was quite a bit of investigation done preliminarily with that. There were a lot of things that the dollars were spent on, but quite frankly, from a criminal standpoint and the prosecution of the case, it was clear that the dollars weren't spent for the benefit of the victims, and at that point, unless we got involved in preparing for a trial, we didn't really track that down, although it's there for us when we needed it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Has there been any liquidation of their assets already leading towards this agreement?
Well, from our investigation, it's not absolutely clear what they may have done with other assets that they've had. Now, if you look at the news stories that we followed, it's clear that they have had some real property of a company that's been repossessed and foreclosed on, and some other things like that. But again, that's not something that we really spent much time on from a prosecution standpoint. Yes.
So if you've started giving back the files, do you know how many files you have total and how many you've given back so far?
Well, Brandon might know that. Brandon's our investigator that's been involved and set up basically the process that we use for that. Yeah.
Brandon?
Brandon Thompson. Basically, we received about 1,500 files, which belong to about 1,100 individual authors. And we've sent back, haven't got a final report because people are still accessing the files, so as for the official number of how many people has actually received them, I couldn't give you an accurate number, but 111 or 1,100 authors did receive files back. And that's all the files that we have in total.
Mr. Thompson, General Hunter mentioned that the Tates have agreed to turn over their remaining servers and computer equipment to the AG's office. Will you be evaluating those to see if there are any additional files that maybe weren't covered in what they gave you back already?
Yeah, we're going to look into that, and if there's more files in there, then we'll do our best to get those back.
Do the victims need to do anything in addition to, or do you have all the records that you need to contact them, or do they need to contact you again?
As in delivering the files or
Restitution.
restitution-wise? If the biggest thing is be detailed as possible when providing us documentation, proof that you made payments, like bank statements, credit card statements, signed contract. If you have a blank one, try to get a signed contract to show the date in which the contract was initiated. Also a detailed statement of your events with your interactions with the company. I made the payments here and there. If you ordered books and didn't get those books, again, we need proof that you made those orders, either through emails or bank statements, things of that nature. Just as much documentation as they could possibly provide is what we'll need to determine if restitution can be recovered.
So will we be communicating directly with the victims who've contacted us with regard to how we're going to manage the fund?
That would be our plan.
Okay.
We're working on it.
Yeah. So we're still finalizing the management and the oversight of the fund, but that's something that we'll be again communicating directly to the victims about, and I'm sure we'll have information on our website about it.
And the total amount of restitution as of today's date is based on documentation that's been provided by less than 500 of the 2,200 plus complaints that we've received. So there's the potential for quite a bit more restitution if the victims will provide us with the documentation that we need in order to determine what their loss was.
Any other questions? Questions for Brandon or John before we wrap up here? Okay, well, listen, I appreciate y'all coming out very much. Thanks.